Hello, lads, ladies, and the lovelies. So welcome back to my channel. How is everyone doing today? I hope you're doing well. Today, it's going to be another book review, which I'm going to be honest, haven't done in a while since The Cat Who Saved Books. So which quite more views than I thought it was going to be. So I do hope that I highly recommend that you tried reading the book yourself. I do highly recommend it, and also thank you so much for watching my reviews. I see that people do enjoy them, so thank you ever so much. But this book review is following up with another book that I have already reviewed, and that is the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. So if you haven't, this is a spoiler disclaimer. I am going to be spoiling the ending of The Cruel Prince because it is a following up from that point. So if you haven't watched the Cruel Prince review, go and watch that now. And if you want to read the books, The Cruel Prince and The Cruel Prince, I suggest you stop this video because I am going to spoil it. And then you can come back and see if The Wicked King is suitable for you. I try not to spoil The Wicked King, of course. This is just a whole basic review as I normally do, but I will try my very best. So yeah, The Wicked King by Holly Black. So I am going to say this first. I love this book way better than The Cruel Prince for a couple of reasons. But that doesn't mean I hate The Cruel Prince. I'm on the middle ground with The Cruel Prince for obviously quite a couple of reasons. And reasons are that they're not they're very, and the reasons I have are, well, it's more understandable, basically, considering it's the first book. One of which is very much it's the introduction to Elfham, which is the fairy world that is located around Jude's life. We get to be introduced by Jude and her sisters and her family and how they come into Elfham. Is it Elfham or Elfham? I'm going to say Elfham. We get to be introduced by the gang of fairies who is not particularly fond of humans, so there is some prejudice along the way, and how they managed to live in Elfham under the guardians of Murdoch, the murderer of their parents. And the ending of Cruel Prince that had happened is that Murdoch had ended up killing the king of Elfham, called Eldred, along with Dane, and is actually working for Belkin. For people who do not know, Dane and Belkin were Cardan's brothers, if I remember correctly. Were Cardan's brothers, and all those brothers were the sons of Eldred, who used to be the king of Elfham. We'll get right into it. And Murdoch wanted, and it turned out that Oak, believing that the brother of Jude and Taryn and being Murdoch's son and everything, and they grow up seeing him as their brother. Turns out that he is actually part of royalty and is son of royal family members, and Murdoch wanted him to be the king so that he would have that privilege because he was taking care of him. But Jude did not like that at all, because Oak is still a very young child and he should live normally as a child, should grow up having memories and childhood as he should have as well. So what Vivi and Jude had planned for Oak to live with Vivi and her girlfriend Heather in the mortal world, so that he would have a chance to grow up and to have a normal child normal child life, so like going to school, playing with toys, being with parents, having a time of his life in a carefree world and that sort of thing, which is very much understandable. We're way too young to be a king of Elfham, especially with everything going on in Elfham. And so Jude ended up got Carden as the High King of Elfham, and have her as his right hand man. I can't remember the exact name of that role, so I'm just gonna say his right hand. But the deal was for him to obey her commands no matter what. So he's less as a high king and more of a puppet king, basically, and it had to go on for about a year and a half, basically. I can't remember why a year and a half. Maybe because that's when Oak could potentially be king or something like that. I cannot remember for the life of me. But that's basically what happened at the end of Cruel Prince, and so just a follow through from there. So when we go into the Wizard King, not Wizard King. What am I on about? The Wicked King. Thank you. When we get into the Wicked King, you basically understand that it's becoming much more expand. The world is becoming much more expand in a political sense, because we're following Jude in this scenario, and because it's now her, because she is the High King's right hand, it is now her responsibility to take control of anything kind of political related when it comes to politics of Fairyland. Fairyland, yeah. So the world of fairies, so world of Elfham, basically, and because of that, the world has become much more expanded, and we get to understand a bit more about other lands that Elfham has truce with, and different creatures as well, and one of which is where one of the characters that we know has come from, and that is Nicatia. Is it Nicatia? I call her Nicatia, but who is a princess of the Undersea, and we get to explore a bit more about that world, while their animosity is starting to rise, where there could potentially be a war, and and Jude is trying to go through the political event of trying to avoid that. But yeah, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. I don't particularly understand the politics myself, hence the fantasy politics. Well, in the political sense, it was a tiny bit overplayed, but that's probably because I am dumb as a rock. But I do love it that Holly decided to expand the world a lot more, and we get to understand and other different locations as well. So I thought that was quite interesting. We get to see new characters along the way, and our opinions for certain characters has a shift for my liking as well. So in The Cruel Prince, I have stated that I was not particularly a fan of Carden. I don't particularly like the idea of Dude possibly romancing with her bully, who had... Sorry, excuse me, my throat went weird. Excuse me. That had almost had tormented her for being human, and almost killed her, and things like that. So I wasn't particularly fond of it, even if it's on an enemies to lovers trope area. It's still very, very uncomfortable for me, in my opinion. But in The Wicked King, Carden is much nicer. He is much more friendlier. He understands Jude a bit more. So I quite So I'm starting to like the relationship a little bit more, which is very nice. But my hatred is suddenly shift onto another character who I instantly dislike, just very much dislike. Just reading his name just makes my blood boil, because he has done some nasty things, both in Wicked King and in The Cruel Prince. Locke, it's Locke. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Is it Lockie? Because he has an E at the end, but I pronounce him Locke. I hate him. I hate him with all my heart. I think he is terrible, and I'm not particularly a fan of Tarion either. Tarion is pretty bad in this one as well. But I'm not gonna spoil when it comes to their relationship, but I get this. They're not gonna last long. So, but I will happily say that I do love this book. There is more twists in this. More twists in this. There is much more betrayalment, because it's a kingdom of fairies. That's what it's called, the kingdom of fairies. So there's a lot of twists with other characters, to be expected. There's never any good characters in this series. As a matter of fact, out of all of them, I think Carden is probably the goodest of the lot, isn't he? Well, after the events in The Cruel Prince, it's a tad bit worrying, if I'm going to be honest. Yeah, there's lots of twists and turns. There's lots of political sides of it. There's lots of suspension. And poor old Jude is always constantly in the middle of it. There's a lot of deaths as well. We love to see that. A lot of things, happen quite a bit. But we get to meet some new characters. We do get to meet another relative of Cardoon, which I wasn't expecting, if I was going to be honest. We do get to meet the Queen of the Undersea, who is Nicassia's mother, and oh dear God, she is 10 times worse than Nicassia, in my opinion. It's absolutely dreadful to be with. And we also, obviously, there's Court of Shadows that we get to see as well and get to know a little bit. Which I do love the Court of Shadows, if I'm going to be honest. I do love Roach, and I really do like Roach. And I can't remember the other one. It's off the tip of my tongue. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. And I do like Vivi here. I wasn't sure about Vivi in the first book, but I do like Vivi, and we get to know a bit more about Heather as well, which is absolutely nice to see. But that is all I can pretty much say about this book. It is still enemies to lovers, but the progression between Jude and Carden is so much nicer. So much nicer than The Cruel Prince. I feel like everything was like really chaotic in The Cruel Prince because of Carden being a bully, Jude's stranger feelings are like going absolutely haywire, and then it's just an instant kiss at the end, which I feel like was very abrupt. But in Wicked King, it's nice, slow, it's a nice progression. There was a nice slow burn to they're becoming a bit more intimate as time goes on as well. Especially with Carden being nicer. Yeah, there would be banter as well because they were like past enemies. But it's much more nicer in this book. I do love the progression between Carden and Jude here. I think it's very. But yeah, that is pretty much what I got to say about this book. But I do love this book. How I do like this better than The Cruel Prince. However, I still recommend you read The Cruel Prince, obviously before The Wicked King, because this is the second book of the series. And then I'm going to take a bit of a. There is a third book as well called The Queen of Nothing. And then there is the like, well, I don't know what you call it. It's like Carden's version of the story as well, called The King of Eltham and his reasons for hating stories or something like that. Which I got both of them from the library. But I'm going to take a bit of the break from the series because I've got another library book to read that I do want to get into. But I do recommend this book, but make sure you read The Cruel Prince first. Wait, I've already spoiled The Cruel Prince. I've only just realised. I do hope that two read The Cruel Prince. If you have read The Cruel Prince, brilliant, absolutely. If you haven't, I'm sorry, I spoiled it, but I did put in a disclaimer at the beginning of the video. My bad. But I do recommend this book. It is way better, and you get to understand the world and the characters a bit more, and you understand my hatred of Locke. I hate Locke. I hate Locke so much. But anyway, that is it for the book review. Thank you ever so much for joining me in this video. I almost said stream there for a second. Sorry, force a habit. So thank you for joining me in this video. If you like the video, make sure you hit the like button. And I will be tempted to try read some more books and trying to get the reviews going. And do leave a comment and tell me what you think about The Cruel Prince and The Wicked King. I do love to hear your opinions. Everyone has different opinions to different books, and I would love to hear about them. And yeah, thank you ever so much for joining me. And hopefully I should see you later. Bye-bye.